This is one of the reasons why I'm glad God made me a dude, because I've never had a period before. From what I hear, it kind of sucks. It's not fun. I don't know. This is what my wife tells me. Uh, Now, I can't imagine what this woman would have felt like, always be on her period for 12 years straight. That's pretty brutal. I mean, on top of the physical stuff of her body just chewing itself up, I mean, she would have experienced immense psychological, spiritual, and social trauma from something like this. Due to the blood, she would have been ceremonially unclean by Jewish laws, which means that she probably lived with the lepers in the leopard colony, and anytime she came near people, she was supposed to shout out, "Unclean, unclean, don't get near me," because of her blood issue. So she was probably actually breaking the Jewish law by even being in this crowd of people. When you think about the psychological and the spiritual implications, I'm sure that this woman felt immense shame. I don't know how long she just felt without hope and like, what is wrong with me? Like, why has this happened to me? Where is God? Does he hate me? What, deep down, that she is not enough and God's punishing her? I mean, I don't know. She probably just felt like she was cursed for the rest of her life. But then she hears about Jesus, and she hears that he heals and that he cares and that he restores, and she this idea comes to her mind that if I can just somehow sneak in and just even touch his clothes, I think I'll be made whole. Maybe it'll do something for me. So she does. She fights her way through the crowd. She pushes and inches through the bodies, a bunch of people, just to get just close enough, just to touch the bottom of his robe. And the moment that she does, it says immediately she feels the bleeding stopped, and she feels that she has been made well and restored. Incredible. But Jesus wanted to restore all of her, not just her physical body. So he, right away, he stops walking. He says, "Who touched me?" And to what the disciples probably should have answered is, "What are you talking about, Jesus? You just showed that you're God. You know who touched you. Come on." But Jesus wants to draw the woman out. I'm sure Jesus knew. The woman wanted to remain anonymous. Jesus wanted to welcome her into his special family. So he says, "I felt power go out of me," and he beckons her to come forward. Thinking that she did something wrong and she's about to receive public ridicule and scorn, she inches forward, but instead of words of condemnation, Jesus says to her, "Daughter, your faith has saved you. Made you well. Go in peace." So sweet. So kind. So tender. Jesus calls her daughter. The only time that Jesus ever calls anybody that. This tender term, he restores not only her body but her soul, telling her that God loves her. God welcomes her into his special family. I love this story. The story gives us some insight into something that we all universally experience. Here's a fact. Everybody gets sick at one point. Ever since that tragic moment in the beginning in the garden, our bodies, now they break down. They become susceptible to disease. And what happens when you get sick? It affects your mind, doesn't it? You get down, you get discouraged, you don't feel well, you have discouraging thoughts about life. I mean, there's nothing like being sick that really makes you feel weak and powerless, isn't it? You're just like, okay. It's into that experience that Jesus speaks life and healing to our souls. He came healing people's bodies so that their souls might be restored as well. Now, just like the demon deal, we don't see a lot of physical healings in our culture, in the Western world, but we actually do in those third world animistic cultures, because that's often just what they need to be able to come to belief in Jesus. But for both cultures, spiritual healing is what we ultimately need, is the same. It's into the moments where we feel like we don't belong, where we feel like there's something wrong with us, where we feel like God is absent or he's just out to get us. that Jesus opens his arms to us. He says, I'm here. Through me, you are loved and accepted by God the Father as one of his special sons and daughters. Through me, you can be in the family and experience all the blessings of it. With Jesus, you see, we're allowed to be weak. We're allowed to come to him with all of our brokenness. We're allowed to come close to him. We're allowed to touch him. And he heals our hurts. He heals our pains. He heals our wounds.